Now, the government's plan to deport asylum seekers to Rwanda for processing is set to be challenged in the Supreme Court. They'll argue against the ruling that the policy to deport migrants to Rwanda is unlawful, as ministers are struggling to achieve Rishi Sunak's pledge to stop the boats. Well, the CEO of Migration Watch UK, Dr. Mike Jones, joins us now for more on this. Good morning to you. Of course, we don't have a decision until next month in all of this, but we'll be hearing the arguments that will be made in the Supreme Court. You obviously oppose this, presumably?
Well, yes, I agree with the High Court judgment. I disagree with the judgment made by the Court of Appeal. It wasn't a unanimous decision. It was 2-1. I believe it was very unusual. The arguments essentially revolve around asylum processing in Rwanda. They believe the process isn't as rigorous as it is in the UK. So essentially, they believe it violates Article 3 of the European Convention on Human Rights. But my gut instinct is that the Supreme Court may rule in favour of the government. It's a much more disciplined institution legally under the leadership of Lord Reid than it was under Lady Hale.
Up to the Supreme Court to decide. What happens next will be fascinating, whichever way things go. If it is declared legal by the Supreme Court, we know that the Home Secretary has said that it is her dream to see those flights taking off and pictured on the front of the Telegraph. And yet we've also heard from Sir Keir Starmer that if he gets into office, he will scrap the Rwanda plan, even if it is deemed to be legal. It's interesting because public opinion is actually on the side of these Rwanda deportation flights. I mean, I'm just curious to get your take on all of that.
Decision. Yeah, the Supreme Court decision has the potential to shape the contours of the next general election. If the court rules in favour of the government and declares Rwanda legal, and Rwanda bears fruit as a policy, it acts as a deterrent, then the next general election could become a referendum on illegal migration. And I think the Labour Party have made a rod for their own back on this because they've said that they'll scrap the policy regardless of its success.
I'm interested, though, from your point of view, could there be a sort of unintended consequence if this is deemed illegal by the Supreme Court? Would Migration Watch be concerned by what measures the government then decide to pursue? Because we know that they've been flirting with leaving the ECHR, which upsets a lot of people, which is probably going to be pursued more vigorously if this is not successful as a policy.
Yes, I mean, I'm all for leaving the European Court of Human Rights. And it's not just the opinion of Migration Watch. Lord Sumption and Professor Richard Eakins of Oxford University have made this argument in public. The ECHR is an undemocratic institution. It's opaque. It appoints judges from authoritarian regimes with poor legal traditions. And it's reinterpreted the European Convention on Human Rights. I mean, the convention is now a dynamic document, and this is due to the rulings of the ECHR. They've created this whole body of immigration and asylum law, which is completely inconsistent with the principles of the original document. So I think, a policy of leaving the court would resonate with the British public.
Interesting. OK, Dr. Mike Jones from Migration Watch, thanks very much indeed.